This is not a test. This is an emergency broadcast transmission.
As you can see here, this is a picture, I think it's Snow White, where the woman or the witch offers a piece of fruit. And she says, eat the apple, it's good for you, right? Well, ultimately, as we just read in the Bible, there is a very similar story where the serpent offers a fruit to the woman and says, oh, you'll not surely die. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no poison in it. There's nothing to be afraid of. And it's nothing new. This is just the same old story taken from the Bible. And this is the deception. And sometimes it looks good to the eyes, to the point where some people would be like, oh, it's good. I want to share with you something else. You'll notice a little witchcraft cover on it with but underneath of it, you see something else. You see an apple with a bite out of it. Interesting, isn't it? I know I've always wanted to do a sermon on the iPhone because, you know, you just think about it. iPhone, who's it about? iPhone, iPad, I, right? You know, who is the one who said, I will be like the Most High. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the throne in the mount of the congregation. But Isaiah chapter 14, verses 4 and 12, thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. And some of you know the rest of it. O Lucifer, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? How art thou cut down to the ground, because thou said in thine heart, I will be like the Most High. This is the satanic king of Babylon, the ultimate red dragon, the beast, which gives the woman her seat, her power, her authority, which is the church, the papal church. That is none other than Satan himself, Lucifer, the king, the ultimate king of Babylon. Revelation 12:9 talks about that red beast, that scarlet colored beast that she rides. And it says, the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So ultimately, when you look at it, you'll understand that he didn't just deceive a few people. He hasn't just deceived, you know, a few people. He's deceived most churches today. He's deceived almost all of the people who confess to be Christians today. He's still deceiving most who confess to be Christians today. And if it were possible, he would deceive even the very elect. And God is merciful, and the devil's tried to represent him as wickedly as possible in every single way. But he's cast out in the earth. His angels were cast out with him. Where are they now? Well, they're here. They're here. And I'm going to talk about this again because he's deceiving the whole world. You know, one of the ways in which he deceives the world is written about the king of Babylon in Revelation chapter 18, where he uses this woman. And this woman is holding a golden cup full of abominations. And in this golden cup, she's known to be a sorceress, a witch, a sorceress. That's what this woman is. And usually witches would make in their cups is they make these brews. And these brews would be made up of all kinds of things, dog hair, monkey brains, whatever they could come up with, chemicals and all this other stuff. And then they'd give it to you. And that was a potion. And they'd say, here. They were doctors, witch doctors. That's where people used to go to get their cures for disease. And so the witch doctor would give them a brew, and they drink the brew, a golden cup full of abominations. And that cup that sorceress would give would be called pharmakia, or pharmaceuticals, or pharmacia. And in the Bible, it talks about this in Revelation 18, verse 23, where it says, for thy merchants, that means your salesmen, were the great men of the earth. You ever go on CNN these days, or any of these channels, MSNBC? What do they all have? Brought to you by Pfizer or whatever it is, right? But it says, thy merchants were the great men of the earth. In other words, they rule. They have the money. They have the control. The World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, all these people are ruling. They're the great men of the earth. They control the finances, and they make a lot of money when they have a pandemic, right? But it says, by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. What's that word sorcery is there? I have it highlighted in yellow. And the reason that I have it highlighted is because this woman is holding a cup of abominations, a cup of a witch's brew, a cup of pharmakia, which is the exact Greek word that is used in this verse, which is pharmakia. That's what sorceries means. So it means by thy pharmakia were all nations deceived. And who's the one that is behind all this, that is deceiving the whole world? It's that great dragon, the devil, Satan. And so when you look at it here, sorceries, the use of, that's pharmakia right there, sorceries, the use of drugs, potions, and enchantments. So the witch used to give you the potion. Now the potions come in little vials, and they put it in your arms with needles and other things like that. It's called poisoning. That's another word for it, if you'll notice. Pharmakia means poisoning, pharmacy. That's what it means. You can look it up. This is your Strong's Concordance. And we need to start using the Strong's Concordance. We need to start searching these words and finding where they're used and do studies on these words. We'll start to come up with a lot of amazing things that God wants to share with us if we study using the concordance and using the references that are in them. There are amazing ways in which you can study, but it gives you great insights into what's really going on in this world. By pharmakia were all nations deceived. By poisoning were all nations deceived. By potions were all nations deceived. By drugs were all nations deceived. By witchcraft were all nations deceived. And what does it also suggest? The remedy, the cure. That's what they would say. It's the remedy, the cure, but yet it was poisoning. It's a counterfeit cure, a counterfeit remedy. And you look up the word sorcerer, it's a druggist or a poisoner, a sorcerer, a male witch. The witch would give you the drugs. That's where you got your drugs back in the day. That's where you got your pharmaceuticals back in the day, was from the witch, the sorcerer. And what about today? You think it's any different? Do you think it's possible that maybe, just maybe, the sorcerer or the sorceress or the people in the high places might just be offering you those very same things, the potions, and they're called the cures of disease. You see, in the Great Controversy, which is Present Truth, I might add, a book that preaches the present truth, very similar to the Bible. It has lots of things, and it always points you back to the Bible. It's a great book. But in this book, it says, while appearing to the children of men as a great physician. What's the devil appear to us as? He appears to us as a great physician, a pharmacist, a pharmakiist, who can heal all their maladies. He will bring disease and disaster until populous cities are reduced to ruin and desolation. You know, it's interesting how a lot of these people talk about depopulation, bringing populous cities down to ruin and desolation. And I think that that's happening right now, even though it appears that the people that are coming to you to try to help you are really depopulating. That's what the Bible says. That's what the Great Controversy says. That's what we're told. I don't even have to tell you names. You know some of these things. You understand these things as they're coming to pass. But furthermore, on the same page, it says Satan works through the elements also to garner his harvest of unprepared souls. He has studied the secrets of the laboratories of nature, and he uses all his power to control the elements as far as God allows. So how does he do this? He studied the secrets of nature. He studied the human mind, as we read in the first quote of this whole study, the very first quote where we talked about the mind and what he's doing with the mind. So how he can control the mind and use these things to get the mind, because that's what it's really about, is getting control of the human mind. When we talk about the Bible, I can read you a bunch of verses. They talk about the mind. You could look at the words about the mark of the beast. Where is the mark of the beast? It's in your forehead. Why is it that the mark of the beast is in your forehead? Because this is the place where he wants to get you. This is what controls how the body works. You'll notice that a computer always has a brain. It's called the brain of the computer, or the brain of the car, or the brain of the vehicle, or the brain of whatever you're operating. There's a brain. But the brain, I can't use my hand if my brain don't work. I can't use my nose to breathe if my brain don't work. I can't use my eyes if my brain ain't working. My brain connects everything together. So what do you think is the one thing that the devil wants to destroy? He wants to destroy our brains. But listen, Satan has control of all whom God does not especially guard. Satan has control of all whom God does not especially guard. He will favor and prosper some in order to further his own designs. Here, you know what? I want to get these pharmaceuticals out. So here's what I want to do. I'll give you this, this, and this. I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world. I'll give you a lot of things. I'll prosper you if you help me. So how do these people get into famous positions to where they're pushing these things? Well, it's through, you give to me, I'll give to you. That's how Satan works. And he will bring trouble upon others, and he will lead them to believe that it is God who's afflicting them. They hate God. People hate God because they think it's God that would allow all these diseases and do all these things to them. I understand that God has given us over. I understand that. That's a principle that's very clear. And that is something that happens. And God gives us over, and it's Satan who does a lot of these things. But I also don't think that there isn't a time where God steps in, or where God's angels step in, or where God's people are commanded to step in. There is. And that's Bible. When you read your whole Bible, you'll know that. You won't question that. But in these situations here, Satan is bringing upon trouble upon others. He's leading them to think that God is doing this. He wants us to believe that God is afflicting them, and then people come to hate God